What's up, my brothers from another mother? Welcome to RPG Red Pill Galaxy. So, gentlemen, today I want to discuss something really important, and that is the topic of why high value men get tired of extremely beautiful women. Now, we're not talking about the six, seven, or eights, we're talking about the upper class, the echelon of women. In other words, the nines and tens. Now, you might be asking, if you were lucky enough to land a woman that is a 9 or a 10, why would you get tired of her? Especially since that is what most men aspire to get that 9 or 10 or that cover model, as they call them. Well, the truth is, I've actually had some experiences with some of these women myself, given that I now live in the Russian Federation. To those of you that's never watched my prior videos, I'm originally from Cape Town, South Africa. I'm now a permanent Russian resident and soon I will be a Russian citizen. So long story short, I work online. I do online marketing and that's how I earn my income. And maybe at some future date, I'll go into exactly what I do. But just for now, I want to take you all back to the year 2003. And this is the year that I actually did my internship as a fitness professional. So I'm a student at a place called ETA. It's the Exercise Teachers Academy. It's well recognized. It is recognized by the Sports Science Institute of South Africa and also accredited by ACE, which is the American Council of Exercise. So very well recognized, highly reputable agency through which you can attain your fitness accreditation. So what then happened was that halfway through the year, I'm doing my practical internship at a gym called Virgin Active. Now, Virgin Active is a very large, it's a global scale gym under the Virgin umbrella. It's under the Virgin group of companies, which falls directly under the leadership of Sir Richard Branson. So Virgin Active, specifically the Cape Town City Centre branch, I walk around and I help people as usual, asking them, hello, how are you? Can I help you? This is how you do the bench press, the deadlift, the dumbbell curls, etc. Just helping people generally all over, giving them good exercise tips and techniques. And so it was, I came across this really smoking hot girl. I would give her a solid 9 to 9.5 out of 10. And not divulging her actual name, we make small talk, and it turns out that she was one of the most popular FHM cover models, and she was also a very popular radio and television personality. And she told me her first name, and I thought, okay, well, you do mind telling me your last name? When she said her last name, I thought, oh my God, are you that person? And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I was actually speaking to this high value female that graced the cover of just about every single glamour magazine for men. At the time, she was probably one of the top 5 most sought after women in the country. And what then happened was that I took advantage of this moment and I told her, look, I'm not a personal trainer, at least not yet. I'm doing my fitness internship. And as part of my fitness education, I need to do a fitness case study. Now, she accepted because, of course, for her, it meant free personal training. Now, admittedly, I used this as an excuse to be close to her, to be in her space. And yes, this was way back in the time when I was very much a blue-pilled cuck. Okay, so I didn't swallow the red pill yet. I honestly believe that if I spent enough time orbiting around her like a typical beta orbiter, that she would get to see what kind of great guy I am, and hopefully over the course of time, spending many weeks with me, day in and day out, she would get to like me, and this would lead to some kind of sexual escalation. And what happened over time was that none of that happened. So, we started off very professionally. I made her fill out a questionnaire on a specified day and time at the Exercise Academy. I followed all rules, all protocol. I cleared this not only with the gym, I also cleared that I was going to work with her as my fitness case study with the Exercise Academy. So everything was above board. I never once touched her inappropriately. I never once made any sexual or condescending remarks to make her feel uncomfortable. And even when I did the fitness assessment, which included me physically touching her body, I did it the absolute professional way. I actually advised her, I'm about to touch you. I need to take some tape measurements. I need you to lift up your skirt so that I can, make a measurement around your thighs. So all of that was above board, and she felt very comfortable with me. Now, where am I going with this? Okay. Yes, we got to know each other personally, and I mean as friends. As time progressed, it was less of a professional personal trainer-client relationship, and the more we spoke, the more friendly we became. So those walls that were initially there came down, at least on her side. She felt more comfortable. We are friends to this day. But coming back to the title of this video, why men get tired of extremely beautiful women, and I can attest this to this particular case study that I got involved in. Now, I need to give you some context. I lived quite far. I was living probably, now that I think about it, about 20 kilometers from where this gym was. And because I didn't have a car at the time, it meant that I needed to take a minivan taxi. Okay, so not your private taxi where it's one person in a cab. I'm talking about these minivan cabs where up to 15 people get in and they pay a certain amount of money and they drive a set route. So I had to get into one of these minivan taxis, which took me anything from 15 to 20 minutes just to get to the local train station. And then from the train station, it was exactly a 40-minute ride. 40 as in 40, not 14. It was a 40-minute ride, 2/3 of 1 hour, to get to Cape Town city centre. Then from the city centre, I had to walk an additional 15 minutes just to get to the gym. So you had 20 minutes of commute time in the taxi, you had 40 minutes in the train, and you had 15 minutes, which means it took me, an average of about 1 hour, 15 minutes just to get to the gym. And initially, I didn't mind this commute because I knew that I was going to see this young lady, this top-end FHM cover model. I was going to be in the company of one of the most highly sought-after women. And initially, that was all that was necessary for me to get a high. But as time went on, she then started talking about her boyfriend, and that was a bit of a damper. And I met him. He was pretty much a bit of a white knight as well, very much a blue-pilled beta provider, if you can call him that. And I personally never had any problems with him. But what I did have a problem with was that she was getting all this benefit. She was getting free personal training. She was getting a really good, solid advice from me, which she never had to pay for. And yes, I admit she would not be in this position had I not volunteered the services. But the more I spent time with her, the more I realized that absolutely nothing was going to happen between us. So every single day I spent my own money getting into this minivan taxi, getting onto this train for a 40-minute ride, and then walking another 15 minutes, whether it was snowing, whether it was raining, whether there was a thunderstorm, it didn't matter. I had to be there because I had to do this fitness case study. And although initially, and when I say initially, I mean for the first 2 weeks of a 4-month case study, I actually got tired. I got tired of the physical energy I had to expend in getting to the gym. It was no longer about getting excited to see her, because although she was a solid 9 to a 9.5 out of 10, I didn't see this beauty anymore. All I saw was frustration. To me, now it became work. It became labor. It became something I didn't look forward to, because what I saw in the beginning was a really hot and sexy woman and an opportunity to, score sexually. But as time and time progressed, I realized that she was just being polite. She was just being friendly. I didn't see that sexual opportunity anymore, because now it became 100% clear that she was not going to get sexually involved with me. She was not even going to, do simple things like holding my hand, etc. Yes, sure, now and again, when she saw me, because she was so happy with the progress, she would give me a hug and etc. But it was clear from the start, this was more a hug of appreciation that she got free personal training. It wasn't a hug in the sense of, oh wow, I'm so sexually attracted to you. It wasn't anything like that. It was, you are my trainer. I love what you do for me. Thank you. And in some cases, it was even what I would call a pity hug. And, at that point, now, bear in mind, I was still very much a blue-pilled guy at the time. And even in my state of being in a blue-pilled conditioned state, I still saw through the bullshit from the third week onwards, because now I realize no matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter how much game I brought to the table, I was not going to get involved with her sexually at all. And then I realized that it didn't matter how beautiful she was. It didn't matter how hot other people thought she was. It didn't matter if my friends and my associates at the Exercise Academy said all kinds of wonderful things about me. All that recognition, all the accolades, that went with training this famous FHM model, it meant absolutely nothing to me. It got to a point where I got so tired of training her and listening to her bullshit that, I actually had to invent a lie. I had to come up with this lie that, unfortunately, I know we're only 2 months into it now, but, the fitness manager came to me saying that, the fitness case studies, they can only allow me so much time. They're not going to give me the full 4 to 5 months time, so I need to terminate this case study and just conclude my case study on the evidence I have so far. And she was obviously quite perturbed about it. She was obviously quite upset that she was no longer going to get any free personal training. And I was just very happy. I was happy that I never had to see her again. I was happy that I was not going to spend so much time and money and energy getting onto the private minivan taxi, that I didn't have to spend so much time commuting on the train, that I didn't have to walk that 15 minutes to and back. So in other words, if it was an hour 15 minutes there, it meant another hour and 15 minutes back, which means that only with commuting there and back, I spent an average of at least a minimum of 2.5 hours just commuting, just to train her. The actual fitness training was minimum 1 hour. So at least 3.5 hours I spent going there, coming back and training her. And sometimes she wanted to talk a lot of bullshit, which I never really cared about. And so that's one of the reasons why I found or discovered that a lot of men like myself, we get tired of beautiful women, because we start seeing through the bullshit. We start seeing the truth, and the truth being that a lot of them will use you for what they can get from you. If they can get non-sexual attention from you, they will use you for that. If they want to complain about their boyfriend, they will use you for that. If they can get some kind of free favor from you, as was the case with me, I volunteered a free fitness training as a means of completing my case study. Now, don't get this wrong. I'm not saying that the case study was made up. It was something I definitely needed to do. It was a requirement. But the truth is that the Fitness Academy was located a lot closer than this gym. I could have decided to do my fitness training for my fitness case study anyway. I could easily have told my fitness instructor, please relocate me to a gym much closer, and I would have spent less than half the time commuting. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that, I got tired after a while, and I think a lot of men too, they get tired of looking at these beautiful women, and they realize after one too many times that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, they're not going to get that sexual excitement that they were hoping for. And what you really see is the illusion for what it is. It's like you go into the desert and you think you see in the distance all this water, but in fact, it's just the refraction of light that makes it appear to be water. And when you get there, you see more miles and miles of hot sand. And this is the same thing with a lot of women. Now, I want to make the analogy of going to your favorite car dealership, and let's not even talk about the most expensive cars like Lamborghini or Maserati or any name brand you can think about. Let's just say it's a Mercedes, or you get a Tesla, for example. Now, assuming you go into this brand new car dealership and you speak to this shady salesperson that's just there to switch and bait you, and you take a test drive in this Mercedes or this Tesla, and it feels amazing. You say, okay, let's do this. I don't have the money right now, but the salesperson says, listen, no problem. We can set you up with a really good finance plan. You can pay over 5 or 10 years, and we'll arrange the finance for you. Just fill out this form. And he say, okay, fine. And you do the deal. And what happens is now you sign your life away, you're indebted to the bank. There's no way of getting out of it because the bank just lends you the money. The bank does not care about the actual components of the car. That's your responsibility. So you have not done your due diligence. What now happens is that a week or two later, there's some problems with the engine. There's problems with the mechanics of the car. The oil filter is not working. There's ignition problems. There's problems with the tires, etc. And you go back and you say, hey, I've got a guarantee, I've got a warranty. And when you get there, you realize, oh, but you never read the fine print. We only cover excesses to this amount. So if your car, if what needs to be fixed is $1,000 or $2,000, then we will only pay $300 or $400, which means that you've got to cough up between 60 to 70% of the excess payment. Or they say that we do not cover these kinds of faults, and you never read these terms and conditions. And what then happens is that when people walk past your car and they see this Mercedes, they see this Tesla, or they see this Lamborghini or Ferrari, they think, oh wow, look at that car. This guy must be living the great life. But what these people passing by do not realize is that it looks beautiful, but they don't know that you've been screwed. They don't know that you've been lied to. They don't know that you got the short end of the stick. They don't know that you had to borrow so much money to pay for this car, and it's going to cost you a lot more to fix it. And what you end up with is what you call buyer's remorse. Now, it's the same thing with a lot of beautiful women. You see one of your friends or someone you know with this hot model, this 9 out of 10 or this 10 out of 10. And as with a car, you look at her and you think, oh my God, look at that short skirt. Look at that low cut cleavage. You think, wow, this guy must be making it. But as with the example of the car, the ignition not working, the tires not treading properly, the engine not working, and parts going missing. There's just so many problems, so many headaches. Maybe she's too high maintenance. Maybe she's demanding that each time you go out, you need to buy an expensive handbag, you need to buy jewelry, you need to take it to expensive restaurants. And as with a guy that is indebted to the bank, paying off his car, he cannot go to the bank and say the car's not working because the bank only loaned you money. You cannot now say, okay, well, this is not going to work because you're still a blue pill beta cuck, and you believe erroneously that if you stop providing the financial benefit, if you stop taking her to these expensive movies, expensive dinners, and taking her to rodeos and very expensive vacations, that you're not going to get laid. And unfortunately, there's many men out there that actually fall into this trap. They actually get no sex and they cough up all this money, and when they do get laid, it's either what you call pity sex or the sex is not that great. And this is actually why a lot of rich men end up getting married to very average looking women, and you get these models that are 9s and 10s asking themselves, why is such a wealthy guy with such a plain Jane that's a 5 or a 6 or maybe teetering on a 7 out of 10? And many times the answer to that question is that this woman absolutely knows how to please a man sexually. Now, I've been with a lot of women, both 9s and 10s, 6s and 7s, and for the most part, the 6s and 7s end up giving better head. They give better sex than the 9s and 10s, and it is clear to know why this is the case. The reason for this is that oftentimes the 9s and 10s, they rely purely on their looks to get what they want, and a lot of the times, because of the easy access to blue-pilled beta cucks, these blue-pilled men give them what they want financially, and they don't have to give them much, if any, sex. And this is why a lot of women that are extremely beautiful give very average to very bad sex, because they've never had to use their body much. Whereas the 6s and 7s, typically because their looks are not so much for them, they have to work much harder to keep the attention of a man, long term. So they know they don't have the looks to compete. So how they compensate is by giving the most amazing blowjob. They give the most amazing sex, doing double backflips and giving you the most amazing anal, or they give you threesomes. And these are the things underneath the hood, figuratively, underneath the hood of the car, that you do not see. You do not see them having sex. Just like with a car's engine, you do not see the engine, you do not see the transmission, you do not see the ignition. These are things that are all underneath the hood of the car. And likewise, with women that are 6s and 7s, you do not see them having sex. You do not see her giving head. So you see this rich guy with an average looking woman, and they're together for a long time. Now, I'm not encouraging marriage, because MGTOW is not about that, but I'm just explaining to you why a lot of men are getting tired of extremely beautiful women, and that is because the women use them for what they can get from them financially, and when they do have sex, 9 out of 10 times, because the women that are 9s and 10s are not very experienced sexually to give the man what he wants, he typically now takes a step down, gets an average looking girl that's maybe a 6 or a 7 that can give him amazing sex, but then at least he knows his sexual needs are met. Guys, there's so much more I can tell you. Let me know in the comment section below whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you've had any similar experiences. Hit the like button, hit the bell notification so that you can be the first to get the latest content, and I'm seeing you again next time. That's all for me, RPG, Red Pill Galaxy, and have an amazing day further. Thanks.